Joey. Hey, Joey.
What gives, Mittens? I'm reading here.
Sometimes you just can't decide what to watch. It's either too serious, too intellectual, too scary, and you just end up settling for something that's just really subpar. You want a movie that gives you everything for the price of one. What if, for example, you wanted a pulpy World War II B movie, and then you wanted some space aliens in it, and maybe a bit of comedy, and then maybe some really evil Nazis in it as the bad guy. And then you just mix it all in the blender and boom! You get 1985's Zone Troopers. This is Erik Clapp from Cinema Force. And Zone Troopers is one of those films that you can throw on and it'll just keep a dumb smile on your face for the entire 90 minutes.
2 days ago, command drops you in my lap. No reason given. Next thing I know, I got a half a spaceship, a 6-foot-tall grasshopper, and a crowd of lead on my butt.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Cough it up, newshound. Who sent you?
I have never had a face-to-face conversation with anyone else who has seen this movie, and I hope that this video changes that. Zone Troopers was produced by Charles Band's Empire Pictures, the company that gave us classics such as Troll, Reanimator, and Trancers, which is another one of my favorite films from the 80s. Trancers was written by the team of Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo in 1984 as part of a multi-picture deal that they had with Empire Pictures.
What's wrong with Murray?
He's a trancer.
A what?
Now, Trancers shares a lot in common with Zone Troopers, besides just Bilson and DeMeo, and that would be its cast. Tim Thomerson is Sergeant Patrick Stone, a play on the comics character of Sergeant Rock. Art LeFleur as a tough but sensitive ex-boxer named Mittens. Biff Manard as a war reporter named Dolan. And rounding out the cast is Timothy VanPatton as the innocent but very spunky Joey. VanPatton later went on to become maybe the biggest director in modern TV history with The Sopranos, The Wire, Game of Thrones, and Boardwalk Empire, just to name a few.
You still got that book with them blonde dames from space?
Pirate Women of Venus?
That's the one.
Sorry, pal. Swapped it to a guy in G Squad. For a pack of luckies.
Nuts.
Danny Bilson directs this film as we start out behind enemy lines as a ragtag group of US soldiers in World War II are displaced from their unit by a vicious group of evil Nazis. As they make their way through the forest, they are helped by a certain mysterious ape-like visitor. Mittens and Dolan split up to discover an enemy camp hiding drawings of a secret rocket weapon. But the fellas get captured as a result of their curiosity. Meanwhile, Joey and Sergeant Stone head out to find them and discover a crashed rocket ship in a field. And the rocket ship may not be that secret enemy weapon after all.
Don't you see, Sarge? We're on a rocket ship or something from Mars.
There's nothing. Get with it, Joey. It's some kind of animal.
Our mysterious visitor has been captured and caged like a wild animal. That wacky authoritarian guy that we all hate so much shows up to see the alien and gets sacked in the mouth by Mittens, in an inspired scene right out of a comic book.
Ist zweimal verdammt.
Oh, mein Führer. Sind Sie verwundet? Das ist unentschuldbar. Pinch me, Dolan. Did I just KO Hitler?
You sure did, champ.
As the fellas escape the camp, they are aided by the visitor, and he will soon be known as Bughead, or Bug for short. The guys and Bug bond after a while on the run, and return to a new ship, intending to return Bug back home with his homies, who don't look anything like Bug, and that's because the budget only allowed for one bug head. The head in question was designed by the late great John Carl Buechler. As the guys put their lives on the line for the visitors, they are surrounded by the enemy. Before long, they work together as a team to help each other out. It then becomes a big team-up movie between the Americans and our bug aliens to defeat the Nazis with some super swell ray guns. Zone Troopers was made for less than $500,000, if that. Shot near Rome, away from the meddling Hollywood type, and you can tell everyone is having an absolute blast making it.
Now just what in the hell army are you people with, huh?
They're from outer space. It's obvious.
It's obvious, first off, that this film is a tribute to not just World War II movies, but to the bottom of the barrel B-movie World War II movies. In fact, Bilson and DeMeo said they wanted to make a movie just like they would have made in the 40s right after the war. Whatever resource they couldn't get for the film, they wanted to use that to their advantage instead. Empire Pictures made genre films in the horror and science fiction varieties, and that had to be in this film. Bilson and DeMeo loved sci-fi B-movies too, so they combined the two into a film that maybe could have been made into the 40s, but this one just happened to be made in the mid-80s instead.
Been a so long suckers, right? My men risk their butts for Jiminy Cricket here and you just take off? Return the favor, damn it. Help us get back to our lines.
Tim Thomerson's Sergeant Stone owes quite a bit to Rick Jason and Vic Morrow in the TV series from the 60s, Combat.
I'm open for opinion, Sergeant. What's yours?
Well, I figure we have about an hour and a half.
Before what?
We know what's back there coming our way. Tanks. When they catch up to us, we'll be sitting ducks. Period.
There's even an inspired moment where they actually make it feel like there's about to be a commercial break coming up next. It's an absolutely inspired touch by editor and later Subspecies director Ted Nicolau. Bilson and DeMeo said that filming in Italy made access to World War II props a little bit easier. A little too easy in that some of the actors playing Nazis were actually sympathizers and were very proud of that. Ouch. Director of photography Mac Ahlberg, who once was Ingmar Bergman's cinematographer of choice, was one of Empire's main cinematographers. If you see an Empire picture from the 80s or later in its full moon incarnation in the 90s, chances are Mac had something to do with that. Mac's photography is fantastic. It feels like a war picture from the 40s, even though it's shot in the 80s. In fact, you could even take the color out and make it better in black and white. Hold on. That's a whole nother show on this channel. Scratch that idea. But if you want to, go ahead.
What are you looking at?
Tim Thomerson said he paid tribute to the 1945 war picture A Walk in the Sun, where actor Richard Conte would always ask for a lighted cigarette by saying, "Butt me."
Butt me.
Last pack. Get your filthy hands off it. Ask and I'll give.
Butt me, mittens.
Sure, Sarge.
So how are we doing?
It's a great tribute to a brilliant war picture. Just like he does in all the Trancers films as Jack Death, Tim Thomerson just inhabits characters from the 40s with complete perfection.
You got a deal, Fritzy. Let's shake on it.
The entire cast is just great here. Art LeFleur's Mittens is the perfect tough guy who's been holding back until a certain authoritarian pushes him to the limits. As mentioned earlier, Timothy VanPatton is also good as Joey, the stargazing comic-reading private. Joey just wants to dream about adventuring into the stars, and of course, he also would love to adventure into the ladies waiting back home. Biff Manard's character is based on Ernie Pyle, the real-life war correspondent who is always out for a good story to take back home. The entire cast and crew were all having fun, and the love they had on set shines on screen in a way that just not many movies today can still do. A lot of the cast and crew said it was literally like making a student film. They wanted to make a cheap 40s World War II sci-fi movie, and that's exactly what they could do with the money that they had.
I really think you should see this! I really do.
The production design by Philip Dean Foreman is inspired here, because instead of designing alien tech through the lens of the 80s, this tech was tech that someone from the 40s would have envisioned. The alien rocket ship is a sight to behold, and it is no miniature, folks. It's a full-size scale ship. When Thomerson and VanPatton are next to it, it looks so completely rad. Once inside the ship, we're obviously in a studio setting, but it still looks so awesome.
This.
You have never seen the creature before?
Not a chance, pal. Believe me, I'd remember.
As mentioned earlier, the alien himself is designed by legendary FX makeup artist and director John Carl Buechler. His inspirations are clearly B-movie sci-fi films from the 50s like The Fly, The Robot Monster, and even Invasion of the Saucermen to a certain extent. This was in the time of E.T. also, and so there are some E.T.-esque moments, but they don't overdo it. The film starts off with Glenn Miller's In the Mood. And that sets the tone for the rest of the film. And the score by Richard Band also tries to keep that momentum flowing. Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo continued working as a team together in the industry. They created the classic movie, The Rocketeer, with William Campbell, Jennifer Connelly, and Timothy Dalton. Not to mention their wonderful translation of the DC Comics character, The Flash, for CBS television in the early 90s. The Flash was canceled after only one season, but it was perhaps just a little bit ahead of its time. It even brought back some of the Zone Troopers, like Tim Thomerson as Barry Allen's dad, and Biff Manard had a recurring role as a police officer. Sadly, we lost Paul DeMeo in 2018, but his final screenplay, The Five Bloods, was produced into a wonderful film by director Spike Lee in 2020 for Netflix, and is a fitting epilogue for DeMeo's career.
We will not help you kill your own kind.
The Nazis ain't our kind, pal.
Zone Troopers is a criminally underseen film. If you are a fan of fun 40s and 50s sci-fi and World War II B movies, or you just loved watching Nazis getting zapped by ray guns, then this movie was made just for you. If you're in a bind looking for something to just take the edge off a little bit, look no further than Zone Troopers.
That's cooking, Bughead. Yes, sir.
Until next time, I'm Erik Clapp with Cinema Force. Butt me.
You're welcome, sir.
Ree-bop-biddy-bop, ree-bop-biddy-bop, raddy-yaddy-yaddy-yaddy-o.